We're here with LaTorre the third, correct?
That's right,
All
Mike.
right. Candidate for City Council at large.
That's right.
So,
Thanks for having me.
I've been asking the same group of questions just so people can compare and contrast some answers. But I do want to ask you, why are you running this year? Why is 2023 the year that you want to run?
Well, thanks for the question, Mike. You know, I've always been passionate about public service. The last 20 years of my life, I've given, my time back to the community with half a dozen or more different nonprofits. So it's something in my blood, all the way from my time as a kid in Forest Park, serving in the Boy Scouts, becoming an Eagle Scout, to today being a board member on a half dozen nonprofits and pursuing public office through the Springfield City Council. But, I ran for public office on the City Council in 2021. It was a life-changing experience for me because I just got to learn Springfield so much better. Each neighborhood, each street, the concerns and dreams of every resident in the city. And so, although I didn't successfully get on the council 2 years ago, I was left with such an incredible impression on the city that I knew I had to raise my hand a second time and say, I'm willing to step up and serve the city that I love.
So let's go for some of the issues. The hot button issue right now is, of course, crime.
Right.
And a lot of people are trying to figure out avenues, strategies to try to decrease the violence in the city. What's your opinion about all this?
Well, I've always kind of wanted to take what would be the popular or unpopular opinion, and that's the middle of the road, Mike, okay? We have some folks, when we respond to violence, the answer is, let's get rid of all the guns. And then we have other folks that say, when they see violence, let's make sure everyone has a gun. And those two extremes, I think, sometimes keep us from coming in the middle, which is where I think most of the country and most of the city is on these important issues. So, of course, I agree with some of the things, for example, that Mayor Sarno is saying about making sure that we're, prosecuting the gun laws that already exist and making sure that violent offenders that have already shown a propensity towards violence are not simply allowed free with a small bail and a GPS bracelet. But at the same time, I thoroughly believe that we need to use the one tool that has helped to solve so many of other society's ills, which is education. I grew up in the Boy Scouts of America, and I had the opportunity to have a positive relationship with a gun. Even as a 12-year-old shooting a BB gun, I understood that it was a tool. I understood that it was something that you never use, dangerously, that it wasn't a tool to resolve a conflict with someone in your community. And so I had a positive experience given to me at a young age. And I think we need to recognize that for too many youth in the city of Springfield, their only experience, their only connotation with a gun is in a negative way. Whether it's because they're struggling growing up in an area that's ridden with crime or violence or gangs, or what they're seeing on television. And so we've got to trust that if we educate our young people at the middle school and high school level about what a gun is and what a gun isn't, that they will make intelligent decisions more often than not. We trust our young people with so many other things. Why can't we do this? And I really think that if we considered gun education, we would find some compromises in some areas that you would think that other groups wouldn't traditionally work together. The other thing I'll say, Mike, this is one thing that's being done in the city of Philadelphia, and I think the city of Springfield needs to look at it, is we need to start looking at what can we do in terms of our different community resources to provide a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week place for kids to go and have positive activities. Whether that's an all-night gym, all-night boxing, all-night basketball, we need something for these kids to go to, the ones that are really struggling with their home life, because ultimately, at the end of the day, I think a lot of kids join gangs and get involved with drugs simply because they don't feel loved. They don't have someone at home. They don't have a teacher advocate. They don't have someone in their family saying, I care about you. You do not need to choose that life. You have a family that cares about you. And so I think the city of Springfield needs to leave every single option on the table, and we cannot get into a situation where we politicize this and say one idea is better on the other. Anything that works should be considered, because we're going to need a lot of different solutions to meet a lot of different kids and young adults at their needs.
Let me ask you another quick question here, which is, I've been asking most of the city council candidates about development, economic development. We've put a lot of money, a lot of time into downtown. A lot of the neighborhoods are saying that we're not seeing an equivalent amount of attention for economic development in the neighborhoods. If you're on the council, would this be a concern for you?
It's always a concern for me. We've got to make sure that our investments are equitable. I love a lot of the things that have happened downtown Springfield, because I think it's created a vibrancy that as a young person, 15, 20 years ago, I saw starting to fade. I was that generation that was going to Worthington Street, 15, 20 years ago until I got the impression that it was not safe anymore. And once I got that impression, I stopped going. The investments on Worthington Street, on Bridge Street, MGM, the Basketball Hall of Fame have resulted in Springfield becoming a safer place. But, one of my biggest concerns, and I do think that it was a missed opportunity with the allocation of ARPA funds, is that a 21st century infrastructure plan in the city of Springfield needs to take place. We have city schools with crosswalks that can barely be seen. We have major intersections, whether it's the X, whether it's Berkshire Avenue, that are in dire need of repair. And frankly, I believe that ever since the COVID-19 pandemic, driving in the city of Springfield and across the country has become something of a health epidemic because it's gotten so bad, and we have too many instances of people losing their lives, drivers, pedestrians, bikers, that we need to make serious investments across the neighborhoods in traffic calming infrastructure to make sure that our roads are safe for our young people and everyone in the community. I also think we really need to look at some of our smaller residential commercial areas in each neighborhood and look at what's going on there. Are half of the storefronts empty? What's keeping people from coming to Springfield? And that's why one of my proposals is to create economic opportunity zones where we would look at some of those key areas that we can't have fail because they're the social center of each neighborhood, and offer property tax relief to some potential new businesses to come in to help ensure that we keep those vibrant, because we know that small businesses create 2 out of 3 jobs across the United States.
Jay, thank you much for coming by, and look forward to seeing you at the debate next week.
Thank you, Mike. I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate your time.
Take care.
Thank you.